Good morning, students. On the previous class, we read about the rocks, different types of rocks, how these rocks are formed, and also the importance of rocks in making the soil. Now, rock is the prime thing, the prime factor or prime element from where the soil is formed, and that I told on the previous class only, and you all have read the book properly, so you all have got little bit of idea about this. Now the question is how the rock is formed. Now the question is how the soil is formed from the rock. How the soil is formed from the rock. The process through which the soil is formed from the rock is called the weathering process. So what is weathering process? You all know about weather elements, you all know, like temperature, like pressure, rainfall, then winds, etc. So weathering is a process through which the rock is breaking down into the smaller pieces. Rocks and the minerals are breaking down into the smaller pieces in their original position or in the in situ position. That is called weathering. So which agents are responsible for causing weathering? The different elements, especially the temperature, the air and different gases of the air like oxygen, like carbon dioxide, like hydrogen, these are responsible for causing weathering. Definitely the organisms like plant organism or the microorganisms, they are also the animal, they are also responsible. Certain burrowing animals are there, no, they are also responsible for causing weathering. So in your book you have to mark this line in page number 32. What is weathering? It's given in a box. The process of breaking down or disintegration of rocks in their in situ position. Now the question is, what is in situ? In situ means in their original position. You can see in this image, just see here, let me take out the tool. Yes. You can see in this image, see, this is the earth surface, and earth surface is made up of different types of rocks. This is one rock surface, total different types of rocks, and see, nearby the rock there are few smaller pieces are also found, and they are found in the original position of the rocks. So this is called weathering process. So in weathering process, the rocks are breaking down into the smaller pieces, and those smaller pieces will be in their original position. When these smaller pieces will be transported from their original position to the nearby areas by the rivers, by the winds, by the glaciers or by the sea waves, that process is called the erosion process. So what is the basic difference between weathering and erosion? It's given in that paragraph only, which I told you. So you will put a star mark here. Weathering is the in situ process. Okay, weathering is the in situ process, in situ. But erosion is the ex situ process. Erosion is ex situ process, means here the transportation takes place. In case of erosion, the materials are being transported from their original position, but in case of weathering, it will be taking place in their original position, in situ position. I hope this is clear. What is the difference between weathering and the erosion? Agents of gradation means nothing but, agents of gradation means the agents like river, winds, glaciers, sea waves, these are responsible for causing erosion as well as deposition. That's why they are called the agent of gradation. You just know this, agents of gradation means the winds, the glaciers, the river, the sea waves, etc. In different areas, different agents of erosion are there, different agents of gradations are there. Okay, now I am going to discuss which are the different types of weathering. See, in this part I will suggest you just follow the video, and whichever areas I am telling you to mark, you just mark. Only those areas you just study. So which are the different types of weathering? Number one is the physical weathering. number 2 is the chemical weathering, and number 3 is the biological weathering. So, which are these types of weathering? Obviously, they will have different types of processes. Different types of processes are involved in this type of weathering. So, first is the physical weathering. In physical weathering, the main agent of doing this weathering is the temperature variation. See, in your book it is written, physical weathering is the mechanical disintegration or breaking down of the rocks without any change in their chemical composition. In this weathering process, there will be no change in the chemical composition of the rock. Only the rock will be breaking down mechanically by the temperature variation. See, in that paragraph only it is given, it takes place either due to temperature variation or by frost action. By temperature variation or by the frost action. These two things are responsible for causing physical or mechanical weathering. Now, the temperature variation, how it has taken place. See, you all know about the desert areas, right? You all know about the desert areas. Now, in the desert area, the climatic feature is like this, or weatheric feature is like this. During the daytime, as there is no cloud, maximum sunlight will be absorbed, and during the night what will happen, the maximum earth radiation will be taking place, means earth will radiate heat at night maximum. As a result, temperature will go down, right? And during the daytime what will happen, that time due to enormous heat, because sky is cloudless, so sunlight can enter easily. As a result, earth get heated up maximum. So, the rocks will be expand during the daytime, and during night the rocks will be contracted. So, in this way, due to the alternative contraction and expansion will lead to the creation of different cracks along the joints of the rock. See, in this image, different cracks has been developed on the rock due to this temperature variation. You can see the cracks. So, along these cracks, when the rocks will be breaking down in the form of several blocks, just see rectangular blocks are formed due to the way this type of weathering process, and this is called the block disintegration. So, it is there in your book, in temperature variation paragraph, you just see weathering of rocks due to variation in temperature is common in plateau and the desert region, where the daily range of temperature will be high. You all have read what is diurnal range of temperature on the previous chapter. Diurnal range of temperature means the difference between the day temperature and the night temperature. The difference between the day temperature and the night temperature. What happens during the daytime in desert and the plateau areas, the day temperature will be recorded near about 42 degrees centigrade. This I showed in the class also. And during night what will happen, due to maximum heat radiation, the temperature will be recorded 15 degrees centigrade or less than that. So, what will be the difference between the diurnal range of temperature, means daytime and nighttime temperature? The difference will be high enough. So, where the daily range of temperature will be huge, there this type of weathering will be found. Okay. At night when the temperature drops, the rocks cool down and contract, and this process of alternative expansion and contraction. Alternative expansion and contraction weakens the outer surface of the rock, and they finally break into smaller fragments. Sometimes the breaking down takes place in the form of blocks, sometimes the breaking down can be taking place in form of granules. See, here the breakdown of the rocks takes place in the form of granules. You can see the grain size particles, very small particles. So, this is called the granular disintegration, and the first one which I showed you, this one is taking place in the form of blocks. That is why this is called the block disintegration. One more physical weathering is there which is taking place due to the same reason, that is called the exfoliation. You all have seen the onion, how the peels of onion is getting peeled off. In the same way, here the outer portion of the rock, outer part of the rock will be peeled off from the inner part. and in this way this is called the Olean peeling weathering or the exfoliation. You can see in this image how the outer surface of the rock is getting peeled off from the inner part. This is the outer part and this is the inner part. One more diagram I am showing you, you can understand in a very well manner. Just see this. The outer portion of the rock is getting peeled off layer by layer. So, this is called exfoliation process, and this is also taking place due to alternative expansion and contraction of the inner and the outer layer of the rock due to the alternative heating and cooling process. So, these three weathering process, one is exfoliation, another one is the block disintegration, and third one is the granular disintegration. This all are called the physical weathering. What is the reason behind it? The reason is, yes, the reason is temperature variation. Now, the next thing that is there, that is the frost action. Frost action, what happens? From the name only you can understand, frost action takes place in the higher latitudinal and altitudinal areas where during the daytime the temperature is minimum, but during the night the temperature is very less. As a result, the water which enters into the crack of the rock, see this is the crack of the rock, during the daytime when the temperature is more, that time the water will enter here in the cracks. This is very normal, wherever there is cracks water can enter there. And during the night time what will happen, the water will be freezed. This is the freezed condition. See, water freezes and expands, forcing the cracks to widen. What will happen? You all know the physics. When the water converts into the ice, its volume will be increased. So, it will create more pressure on the crack. So, at first the crack was up to this length, and then the cracks widens and it enlarges. Okay, then the cracks again widens up to the last limit of the rock. As a result, the rock will be disintegrated. Okay, so this process also will be going on through the alternative freezing and thawing process. Freezing means when the water is converted into the ice, and thawing means when the ice is converted into the water. So, constantly this process will be going on, and in this process the rocks will be disintegrated and the particles will be left in its own place through this weathering process. So, this is called the freeze and thaw process or the frost action you can say. So, in book it is written, the type of weathering is common in the mountainous region and the cold places. When the temperature drops below the freezing point, rainwater that fills up the cracks and fissures of the rock freezes. What is fissure? Fissure means also cracks. Cracks means fissure. Okay, fissure. Now, since ice has more volume than water, it exerts pressure on the cracks and gradually widens them. As a result, the crack splits into the two smaller pieces of the rock, two or many smaller pieces of the rock. So, these are the steps. I hope you understood this. So, this is called frost action. This is also another physical weathering process. So, through physical weathering process, there will be no change in the chemical characteristics of the rock. Clear? Only the rocks will be breaking down into the smaller pieces. Now, in the countries with a temperate climate, mark this line, frost action is useful for crop cultivation, and during winter the moisture in the plowed soil freezes. When it thaws, in spring soil is broken into fine grains. As a result, crop cultivation can be done properly. So, this is called self-ploughing process. Self-ploughing, through ploughing we do that only, so that better aeration can be done into the soil. So, through frost action, when the cracks are formed in the rocks or soil, that time the air can enter easily. So, aeration process will be done properly. As a result, crop cultivation can be done properly. Now, the chemical weathering process. The next process is called the chemical weathering process. What is chemical weathering process? Which agent is the main here? You all know, water. Water is the main element for chemical weathering. So, this chemical weathering process mainly active in the humid regions, hot and humid regions. Some rocks disintegrate, follow the book. Some rocks disintegrate when they come in contact with water or atmospheric gases. the minerals in the rock undergo change in their chemical composition and appearance, thus become weak, and a weak rock automatically breaks into smaller fragments. A hard rock can be eroded faster or a weak rock can be eroded faster. You all think weak rock definitely. So, in chemical weathering process, the chemical composition of the rock will be changed. So, this is the basic difference between the physical weathering and the chemical weathering. Now, which are the different types of chemical weathering? Only you have to know the definitions. First one type is called the oxidation. In oxidation, what happens here, mainly the rocks which are having iron content in them, they will be reacted with the oxygen of the air. The oxygen mixed water during the rainfall, what will happen? The oxides or the oxygen mixed water will be reacting with the iron bearing rock. These rocks are iron bearing rocks. As a result, the rusting features will be formed, rusting components will be formed on the rock, and rock will be more weaker and it will be breaking down into the smaller pieces. See the color of the rocks here, this is red in color, right? So, what is the color of rust? You all have seen the rust, no? It's formed in any iron bearing element. So, this is red in color. So, the rocks will also have the red rust color on them. So, here the main agent is the oxygen. Okay? So, this is called oxidation. Now, the next thing is the carbonation. So, from the name only you can understand the main feature will be here the carbon dioxide. So, carbon dioxide when it reacts with the H2O or rainwater, what will happen? Which will be formed? That is called H2CO3. This is carbonic acid. Now, this carbonic acid is very much chemically active element which can react with the limestone bearing rock, limestone or marble. They can react with limestone and marble. So, this type of cracks will be formed due to this reaction, due to this weathering process. So, this is called carbonation. When rainwater reacts with atmospheric carbon dioxide, carbonic acid is formed. As I told you, H2CO3 is the carbonic acid, and this dissolves the certain rocks such as limestone, marble, and also the chalk. Which type of rocks are these? Limestone, chalk, marble. The marble is a metamorphic rock, but limestone, chalk, these are the sedimentary rock, organically formed sedimentary rock. So, they will be reacted with the carbon dioxide, H2CO3. And as a result, different types of features will be formed on the rock. These are called rock cavities, then your sinkholes, etc. In your book, sinkhole feature is given, no? This is called one sinkhole. This is the rock cavity, the enlarged feature. This is also the rock cavities, etc. These are formed on the surface. Now, the next thing is the hydration process. Hydration is nothing but you can say here the main agent of weathering is the hydrogen. What will happen? The hydrogen bearing water, when it will enter into the rock, it will increase the volume of the mineral of the rock. What will happen? If the volume of the mineral in the rock will be increased, then the pressure also will be increased. So, in this way a new rock will be or rock will be disintegrated. Okay. See, when the hydrogen present in the rock, in the water, and air reacts with the rocks, it dissolves them, and the process is called hydration. The change of feldspar to kaolin. Feldspar is the mineral, you all know, the main mineral found on the earth crust. Feldspar changes into kaolin due to this process. Okay, and the rock will be disintegrated. Then the last one is the solution process. Solution means water is the main agent here. Some rocks can be dissolved under the influence of water, you all know, like rock salt, gypsum, these can be reacted with the water and will form the solution. Okay. So, when rainwater dissolves certain soluble minerals present in the rock such as rock salts or gypsum, they weaken and finally break down. So, in this process, this is called the solution process. Understood? So, these all are the four things. One is the oxidation, just to remember oxygen. Here the main agent is oxygen, then carbon dioxide, main agent is carbon dioxide, then hydration, this is the main agent is hydrogen, and the last one is the solution, rainwater is the main agent. Now the last one is the biological weathering. So I told you biological weathering, you just see in your book the biological weathering here, which are the main agents. One is the plant root. When the plant root will enter into the soil, it will break the rocks, it can break the rocks, and in this way the rock is getting weaker and weathering also can be taking place there. And some burrowing animals are also there, like moles or rats or rodents, etc. They are also responsible for causing biological weathering. Even the excretors of the earthworm or any other burrowing animals, or the humus, the plants, the decaying part of the plant's body, they also are responsible for causing chemical weathering of the rocks. Okay, follow the book. Biological weathering is brought about by plant roots, earthworms, burrowing animals and human activities. Please mark. As the roots of the plants and the trees grow in size, they cause cracks in the rocks, and cracks gradually widen, leading to the breaking down of the rocks, which is called weathering. Earthworms and the burrowing animals such as rats, rabbits dig into the soil, loosen the rocks, ultimately breaking them down. And how human beings are responsible? Through their mining process, through their excavation process, wearing process, building construction, means road construction process, etc. Through these processes, human being is also responsible for causing weathering. So this is called the biological weathering. So today students, we have read up to this. This is called the weathering process, and this is the main process of the formation of soil. Effects of weathering we will not read. In case of effects of weathering, we will read only the soil part as an effect of weathering. Others no need to study because it is not there in your syllabus. Soil formation as an effect of weathering, only that we will study on the next class. Okay students, so summary of this class is: what is weathering, what is erosion, what is the difference between weathering and erosion, then which are the different types of weathering, what is block disintegration, what is exfoliation, what is your granular disintegration, which agent is responsible for that, what is frost action, then which are the different types of chemical weathering and which agents are responsible for that, and what is the difference between the chemical and the physical weathering. What is biological weathering and which are the different agents responsible for biological weathering. So I have given you the study material with this video class. You all go through the study material, write down in your copy. I tried to cover all the questions, means which are the questions important, and all the questions I have written in my study material. So you all follow that, and others questions I tried to give in worksheet also. Other you all read, you will get the answers from the book. Okay students, so today up to this, see you in the next class. Bye bye.